You know, the problem with communists is they genuinely believe that everybody is equal. If you're a committed communist, that is, right? Real communists, one that live in communist countries, they understand that people are not equal, and they've built their own systems to manage that. In South Africa, our leaders have still got this romantic idea that if South Africa is going to be this communist utopia and everybody's equal. Well, here I am to give you the good news or the bad news, depending on where you stand. We're not equal. I can't run the 100 meters in 9.8 seconds. I can't win a beauty competition. Now, I know that one might surprise you, but that's just where we are, and that's just the way the world works. Another way the world works is, before we carry on, I'd like to thank our friends at Pace Car Rental that keep us on the air. They keep us on the air by sponsoring the State of the Nation. They help you to get cheaper hired cars by giving you a discount if you use our code SONA, S-O-N-A, when you rent a car from Pace Car Rental. So do it because they're good people and they help keep us going. So why do I have a problem with this communist thinking that everybody's equal? Well, because in our foreign relations, we seem to be harboring this idea that South Africa is, as a country, equal to countries like the USA or China. No, we are not. And when people tell you that, it's a little bit like when your mother says, you are just the prettiest little girl in the world, or you're just the fastest boy in the world. They're lying to you. And they're just saying that not to hurt your feelings. The reality is there's always somebody else. And in the case of countries, we've got 200 countries to choose from, and South Africa's kind of in the middle there somewhere and falling fast. Now, our foreign relations problem is really getting serious. We understand that we're in the crosshairs of US President Donald Trump. We may have question marks about some of the ideas that he has about South Africa. You remember he called our president to the White House to tell him that there's a white genocide, and the president countered with, no, we're killing everybody. Okay, that's not a good answer. That's like if somebody says, you stole 1,000 rand from me, to say, no, I didn't. I only stole 500. It doesn't make a very good impression. So we're in the crosshairs of the USA. And this all came to a head at the G20, or in the aftermath of the G20 summit last week. Now, let's just have a quick revisit to that G20 summit. We thought it was an outrageous success in South Africa, probably because, you know, all the presidents came here, nobody died by hitting a pothole. The lights were on for the 48 hours they need to be on. Our one jet flew bedonned for a week, and then they could put it back in the garage. So by South African standards, it was good because nothing went wrong. But let's not forget that America chose to boycott the event. And we let it happen. We knew there was something coming. And instead of preempting the situation with the US, we let it happen. We let America, who had already indicated that they were having a problem with coming to South Africa, and instead of going along and making sure that at least the vice president came, we chose to say, well, look, you can come, or you're not. So they chose not to come. And we gave it a big, well, we'll carry on just without you. We're not going to miss you kind of thing, which was fine if you're a big country, but not so fine if you're a medium country like ours. Then when America realized that maybe they shouldn't have done it like that, and they tried to send a diplomat to come and collect the baton, because America are going to be holding the G20 presidency after us, we said, no, it's an insult to our great president to hand over to a minor diplomat. Come on, man. Come on. This is the same president that stuffs money into his couch. This is the same president who says, I don't know this crime boss Malmela, and then we've got videos of him being in his house. He's a man of the common people. Wasn't he Cyril Ramaphosa, the great walker who spoke to all the citizens? But now he can't speak to a diplomat. So, us being high and mighty Fine, it might look good for 5 minutes, but the reality is that where it really hurts is in the economy. Because here we are fighting with the world's biggest economy. America remains 25% of the global economy. And every significant country in the world needs to trade with America. We don't even get the context right on these tariffs. Because the context could be that every country in the world, South Africa included, has tariffs on the imports that we get. America has famously never had tariffs. So they're just getting in line with the rest of the world. Now, I understand that Donald Trump's tariffs have been quite arbitrary, quite hard to follow, and I'm not a fan of the way he's done it. I think they've been the biggest beneficiary of trade, and the reason that I believe that is that they're the world's biggest economy. So I'm saying that what they're doing is bad for America, not necessarily bad for everyone else, but we need them. We need them to buy some of the stuff that they've been buying from us. Because we always talk about replacement markets, but where are they? So we've gone along saying, oh, well, we don't care about what you're doing, and we have tried to play hardball with the big guy. Now, like I said at the beginning, we are not all equal. I can't get into the ring with Mike Tyson and say, we are two human beings, let's slug it out. We've got to be equal. He would beat the hell out of me. So I'm smart enough to say, yes, Mr. Tyson, I think you look very handsome, and I think that face tattoo suits you perfectly. I'm not going to get into the ring with him. In fact, what I'm going to try and do is find some other idiot who's prepared to lead with his pride and get in the ring in my place. And that's what Europe found. Europe found us to be a useful idiot because many of those European countries are in the G20. They come to the G20 and they are very happy to smile and wave at South Africa and say, what a good show you put on. Fantastic. We support you. Well done for putting your finger in the eye of America by not trying to reach out to them diplomatically. But those Europeans go home. And who do they phone? Donald Trump. We want to do business with the USA. And believe me, if they have to choose between the USA and South Africa, they're going to take one quick look at the balance sheet, which it's going to take about 5 seconds, and they're going to say, sorry, South Africa, we'll miss you because we're insignificant in the world of trade. All they're doing is the same thing that they're doing with Ukraine, right? They are very happy to support Ukraine and watch young Ukrainian men die in their fight with Russia because it means that those European young men don't have to die in the fight against Russia. They are doing the same thing with South Africa in this fight against America. They smile. They say to South Africa, we support you. Tell America where to get off. And then what happens? When our economy gets hurt, they're going to be saying, oh, sorry about that. Can we get a discount on our next order of anything that they buy from South Africa? Can we come on holiday cheaper as your rand collapses? We have got to be a lot smarter than what we have been about our foreign relations, really, right? So what could we do? What cards could our diplomats play? For starters, they could understand that it's there in the job title. Their job is to be diplomatic. In other words, to be diplomatic and to be everybody's friend, even the ones that you don't naturally like or they don't naturally like you. Your job is to find a way to deal with those people. Not to become their best friends, but to find a way to hammer out a deal, even with people that you don't necessarily agree with. And we've got so many diplomatic cards to play. Instead, our leaders are stuck in 1985. They refuse to see the diplomatic opportunities that we've got. Right, for starters, we are committing diplomatic suicide by letting the country slide the way we have allowed it to slide. Fix the place up, for heaven's sakes. Right? The world can see 50% unemployment. They've got access to the same internet. In actual fact, we're connecting to their internet. They know what's happening in South Africa. They can see the commissions of inquiry because the police are corrupt. They could watch the state capture to the same degree that South Africans could watch it. So they fully understand about the dysfunction in the modern South Africa. So for starters, you can say, if we want to be taken seriously, let's take ourselves seriously. Let's not just fix up the streets when we've got a G20 summit. Let's make those streets permanently fixed up. Let those metro cops who last week were doing their work and this week aren't, let's get them back out there so that the place is safe. This isn't hard. It's a diplomatic card, right? You're not going to go and do trade with a country that you feel unsafe in. This is all under our control. Yet we're treating it like some kind of minor domestic issue, when, believe me, it's the issue that every foreign investor and every diplomat in every country understands. I've been fortunate enough to speak to some people in the diplomatic service from other countries. They know exactly it's their job to find out what's happening in their country, much like I'm pretty sure our president can phone up his diplomats that are based in France and find out what's going on in the streets of Paris. If there's a problem in that particular country, that diplomat will look at the newspaper and say, well, the problem here is XYZ, right? The same thing's happening in reverse, and most of these countries are represented in South Africa. We're not a Mickey Mouse country, although we're behaving like we are. Right? Then we've got to say that South Africa is open for business. This is not hard. Once again, well, it is hard. Just do it. You've got no option. We all want to make a crust of bread, for heaven's sakes. Now, nothing says that we're not open for business, more than the problems that we've had with electricity and water and roads. These are fundamental issues. Fundamental issues. When you have a power crisis, when you have a water crisis, when you have potholes in your road, in the roads, when people have stolen the railway tracks live on television, and you promote the minister that watched it to Secretary General of the party, those diplomats based here know and feed that information back to the people making the decisions overseas, and they don't take you seriously. Right? We know that South Africa is full of great natural endowments. But we should be turning those minerals, those fruits and vegetables, into beneficiated products. Possibly the only thing we've got is a wine industry that's a proper beneficiating industry. And look how well it does. And it could be doing so much better. Right? We turn those grapes into wine. Why does it still work? Because it's a couple of 100 years ago, and the comrades couldn't break it. So the industry exists. All the other beneficiating that we used to do is gone. Right? We used to have smelters that would beneficiate our minerals. Everybody says, we hear our politicians talk all the time about beneficiation. Why aren't we beneficiating minerals? Well, we can't, because we can't keep them going because there's no electricity. So everybody is moving away. Even the old Eskom, which became ArcelorMittal, is closed down. And the government let it happen. Now, we want to know why countries like America, like people like Donald Trump, kick us around. Because we kick ourselves around. It's been a diplomatic disaster. Do we think right now that the French, the British, everybody else think that we are better because we've picked a fight with America that we're going to lose, whether we like it or not? No, they think we're stupid. We've got a fantastic geographic position if we use it strategically. Our sea routes remain vital in the world of trade as well as in the world of movement, just in general, including military. But we choose to behave like we're not part of the same world. We should be exploiting that. We should have ports that work. We should be the gateway to sub-Saharan Africa. Instead, we've chosen to have 5 of the worst 10 ports in the world under our control. Then we want to tell the US where to get off. Right? We need to be far smarter about the way the world works. We need to understand that and recognize that we should be thankful that there is a president like Donald Trump in the White House. And let me explain to you why. Right? Donald Trump tells you what's on his mind. He doesn't just tell you, he tweets it out at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know exactly where you stand. You don't know where you stand with Xi Jinping. You don't know where you stand with Emmanuel Macron or Keir Starmer. Those presidents don't tell you that you're doing a bad job. Their answer is always, things are great in your country. Right? Whenever they come here, they're never going to talk badly about the country. Why? Because they just can't bring themselves to do it, and it's not diplomatic. But we've got Donald Trump in the White House. And for once, we've got an American president telling us what we think, telling us when he thinks we are going wrong. And we can then assess it and do something about it. Or we can choose the line we've chosen where we said, don't you dare tell us what we are doing wrong. Now, let's go back to the White House visit. That happened early in 2025, and we're at the end of 2025. What came out of that meeting? Right? Dim the lights, he said. Showed a litany of murder, crime, etc. We were arguing whether one of the pictures was from South Africa. I mean, really, that was the level of analysis that we did. And how much introspection did we do? When did we sit up and say, you know, he's got a point. The world is noticing murders in rural areas. And the answer to say it's not just white people being killed, it's all people being killed, is actually a very bad answer. And it's very disrespectful to the black people that have been killed, as if that means there's no problem. So what would you have done if you were the president and you got that kind of feedback? Well, you possibly would have spoken to your security people and your police minister. I can see the problem with my logic, because we don't really have a police service. But you would have said, there's a problem here. Let's deal with it. And you would have been public about it. Instead, we argued the substance of what he had to say instead of what he was saying. We started to pick holes into his argument to say, oh no, this wasn't that wasn't there. But we never denied the numbers. We never couldn't deny the fact that people are vulnerable, the fact that we've got crime out of control. In actual fact, our president was saying with glee, we've got those problems. So now let's go back to the G20. We heard reports straight afterwards about what an outrageous success this was. Really. South Africa is the world's 40th biggest economy right now, number 40. When we were put into the G20, we were 25th. We're now 40. We are behind Egypt. We are not even the biggest economy in Africa. We are one ahead of Nigeria. We don't deserve to be in the G20. We got in there when Nelson Mandela was president. Okay? South Africa looked like a place that could grow and should have grown. Instead, we've chosen not to do it. Now, there's one of two things that we could do right now. We could either say, we're going to get back up and do things properly, or we can argue about whether Donald Trump has been horrible to South Africa. Those are the two options we can do. We could either look at ourselves and fix it up, or we can say the rest of you have got it all wrong, and these numbers are lying, when they're actually our numbers. I know which road, as a South African, I'd want us to choose. I think we can make this country a better place. I look at some of those countries in the G20 that are legitimately in the top 20 countries in the world, and we could go past them because we've got a young, hungry population that could be fed goods and services and make them work. But instead, we're choosing the wrong road. Now, in closing, let's us all take a long, hard look at ourselves. And I know I'm preaching to the converted, but you never know. Maybe there's a stray politician that's watching this. That we've got to say that our message is, take everything as advice. Don't argue the issues. Rather, put points on the board. Let's improve this country. Let's make South Africa a country to be proud of, because at the moment, we're not very proud of the place we're living in. The other thing that you can do is keep a great young company like Pace Car Rental growing. Keep a great young podcast like State of the Nation growing, and do what you need to do. Hire a car through Pace. Subscribe to this channel. We'll see you again on the weekly update. Thank you for joining me.